Day 4 was a tale of two sides. On one end, you'll find matchups that are fairly tight. On the other, you'll find matchups that aren't even fairly tight. The Battle of Ontario lived up to its name. The Battle of Florida was not. There were a few roadblocks today, but that normally happens on the road to the Stanley Cup. Game 1 was very forgettable for the Devils, not only because of injuries, but they were thoroughly overwhelmed by the Hurricanes' tight forecheck. Cody Glass, after getting slashed by Jacob Markstrom, is good to go for Game 2. Brendan Dillon and Luke Hughes, however, were not cleared to play. Shimon Nemec and Dennis Cholowski took their places, and the Devils have to be encouraged with the way they start Game 2, and that they play much tighter this time around. That first period especially had to be good for them in Game 2. They even got the game's first goal. Freddie Anderson stopped the initial shot from Erik Haula, but Jesper Bratt collects the rebound at the top of the crease to get the Devils on the board first. Sheldon Keefe said that he need more volume chances at 5-on-5, and that looked to be a step forward to even strength play, especially since they were bad at even strength ever since the Jack Hughes injury. Bratt believes there is a recipe for them to play, and that they had to keep this up to stay successful. What a play by Dawson Mercer to set this up as he was falling down. On his knees, somehow finds Haula in the zone. This time, New Jersey wasn't getting dominated. They were able to hang in there with Carolina not only for the first period, but throughout the course of the game. They even got better looks this time around in the first. Carolina leveled up the physicality, but the Devils answered well. Ryan Dumoulin had one of the best shifts as the Devils since he was acquired by them from Anaheim. And outside of a beautiful pass from Jordan Martinook from his legs to an open Jordan Staal for a one-timer that was stopped by Markstrom, the Devils ended the first with the lead. Seriously, if Staal scored that would have been the best assist of Martinook's career, hands down. But like Kendrick Lamar in TV Off, it's not enough. The Devils were good, but not good enough. It starts out with a beautiful passing sequence with the Canes sustaining almost 40 seconds of zone time, and Jackson Blake found Shane Gostisbehere for the tying goal, roofing in his own rebound with Markstrom down. This turned the tide all around to get the momentum towards the Hurricanes' favor. They almost got the lead thanks to Jesperi Kotkaniemi, but Brett Pesce just retracted the puck for the goal line at the last second to keep the game tied. That wasn't the only puck he kept out. He stopped Andrei Svechnikov from scoring 2 later in the frame. Canes are down a man, no problem. Off a tie-up on the face-off, the Canes quickly scoop it up, and Dmitry Orlov finds Martinook off the red line, and he snaps one past Markstrom's glove to give the Canes the lead. 2 goals in nearly 3 minutes as they put the Devils' power play on full collapse. The antidote to an elite power play is an equally elite penalty kill, and this was the case for these first 2 games. Carolina's PK killed off all 5 penalties, and the Canes special teams are winning the battle both on the PK and the power play. And while the power play didn't score in this game, their PK made life hellish for the Devils. Though the Canes' last power play chance was their most dangerous that they had with a man up. Logan Stankoven was the man of the hour in Game 1, and the way he is developing a natural chemistry with Staal is everything the Canes are hoping for when he came to Carolina. Depth scoring has been Achilles' heel in years past for the Canes, but Stankoven is not alone. Martinook is factoring in too. The second line of Taylor Hall, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and Svechnikov is also clicking. The most important part is that Carolina isn't as top-heavy now as in years past. The fresh faces are making their mark. And Freddie was strong in the third period as well. In the first time ever which he made consecutive starts this season, he made several huge stops, especially when he made 3 saves in quick succession. 2 on Dougie Hamilton and the other one a hot rebound from Timo Meier. He then robbed Meier again and Stefan Neitzel later on a one-timer for Nathan Bastian. The defense in front of him helped too when Brent Burns cleared away a puck that would have otherwise been tapped in by Andre Palat. Markstrom did everything to keep New Jersey in this, but the straw that broke the camel's back was Seth Jarvis' empty netter. The Canes go up 2-0 and are a perfect 11-0 on chance to take a 2-0 series lead since their run to the Stanley Cup in 2006. The forecheck did everything. The Canes adjusted to what the Devils did and never looked back. New Jersey was thoroughly outmatched, looked a step behind, and were slow to counter the Canes' forecheck, where Carolina is beating them in board battles, taking the Devils' forechecker out of a play. Carolina's sticks and bodies were in the lanes to break up scoring chances, and caught Meier napping on the way to the shorty. Credit to how the Canes are playing. Though if you're a Devils fan, you can't help but feel like this was a winnable game that got away. With the power play held off the score sheet again, the Devils were doomed to lose without any good adjustments. But Sheldon Keefe's adjustments only hurt them in this game. Brad played more of Nico Hischier and less with Dawson Mercer and Erik Haula. A lot of more time of Nason and Cody Glass. The Devils had no shots at even strength when Brad is with Hischier, a lot with Glass, Neitzel with Mercer. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The opportunity was there to steal a road game in one of their toughest playoff venues, but as the series heads to Newark, the Devils head home with their backs against the wall. There we go. That's what I expected to see for the Battle of Ontario. It was more competitive this time around. It's nice that these two are showing the competitive spirit against each other, because last game the Leafs showed a level of maturity and confidence unlike any other Leafs team seen in the last 9 years. The Sens got way over their heads and were bitten by their lack of discipline. The Leafs' maturity carried over to game 2 when Morgan Rielly and John Tavares got Toronto up front. Rielly started with William Nylander passing to him, and the pass hit Rielly's left skate and in the net. Tavares made a 2-0 power play goal when he fired from a tight angle, and while it was initially stopped by Linus Ullmark, it bounced off him, off Nick Jensen's skate at the front of the crease, and went in the net. Rielly has goals in both games so far in the Battle of Ontario, and while he's had a subpar regular season by his standards, when the playoffs arrive, he turns down another gear. He facilitated easy exits out of the defensive zone, walked 3 shots in the game, and the Leafs outshot the Sens 12-3 when he was on the ice at 5-on-5. Of a game high 72.75% of expected goals. And Brandon Carlo is making that happen, allowing Rielly to play to his full capabilities. Playoff Morgan Rielly is back. The sneaky adjustment that Craig Berube made in Game 1 was to elevate Pontus Holmberg to the second line next to Tavares and William Nylander. That's worked in the opening game, and while their presence waned the latter 2 periods, Tavares was everywhere in this match. For the opening period, this line outchanced the Sens 7-0 and put Ottawa's back against the wall. Tavares is still elite at getting to the wide open areas of the ice, and Holmberg is earning his minutes on the second line, getting pucks to the net, extending plays, and drawing key penalties. But despite the Leafs leading 2-0 well past the midway mark of the second period, the Sens were the better team for the majority of this game. The biggest reason why the 2-0 lead stayed was because of Anthony Stolarz, who was providing Toronto the best goaltending they've had in the Matthews, Marner, Nylander era. He robbed Dylan Cousins several times, kept his composure for the most part, and his rebound control is much better in Game 2. There were no juicy chances for the Sens to jab away at this time round. But he's also not afraid to take matters into his own hands when he told Ridley Gregg, "What are you doing in my crease?" In the regular season, that would have been called for 4 or 5 penalties, but in the playoffs, oh well, both players only get coincidental roughing minors. Now, he did say the Sens were the better team for the majority of this game. They outshot the Leafs 23-10 through 2 periods and looked like they were threatening to take the lead. Had it not been for Stolarz, Ottawa would have been leading this game. But all they matched with 2 periods was Brady Tkachuk's first career playoff goal, in which it was a cross-slot pass that hits Carlos' skate and into the net. Tkachuk wasn't even trying to shoot it. He wanted to find David Perron for an alley-oop slam dunk. The first period was a content one for the Leafs, but the second one was easily the most lopsided period of the game, with Ottawa outshooting Toronto 13-3 and outchancing them 10-1 and held 81.8% of the expected goal share at 5-on-5. But Stolarz kept this a 1-goal game for the Leafs to stay in front. However, hockey is a game of twists, and one of the first twists in the third period was that Ottawa did not have a single shot attempt in the first half of the frame. Toronto got the first 7 shots on goal in the period, and the core 4, who have been dogged about no showing in previous playoffs, answered the call. Mitch Marner's efforts should be noted because he's been labeled as a playoff choker in years past. Austin Matthews hasn't scored yet in this series, but he's doing the little things on the top line. Terrific defensively, pushing himself into high danger areas offensively, won puck battles, and won 15 of 21 faceoffs overall. The Leafs controlled 65% of expected goals with Matthews on the ice at 5-on-5. While Marner and Matt Knies were active on the forecheck. Marner hit the post early in the first, but a secondary assist on Tavares' goal. Both Marner and Knies were also strong on the PK. Everything is going right for the Leafs. The only thing that could possibly go wrong in the third is, I don't know, some miscommunication behind the net? Well, unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. Max Domi was struggling badly throughout the contest, and its miscommunication with Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Simon Benoit led to a giveaway to Tim Stützle, who found Tyler Klement at the deep left point, and Klement decided to shoot first, ask questions later. Adam Gaudette, the surprise story of Ottawa's season, deflected a puck past Stolarz to knot this game up. Suddenly, the nerves spiked up in Toronto because Ottawa had the momentum now. They're gunning for the win, but Cousins gets robbed again by Stolarz, flashing the order of 1:26 left in the third, point blank for the left dot. And Stolarz's fiery competitiveness is a huge part of this game. In the last 8 years, The Leafs were basically chasing the game in the playoffs, never holding a 2-0 series lead. They constantly were goalie, and they faced Vezina winner after Vezina winner. Braden Holtby, Tuukka Rask, Andrei Vasilevsky, Carey Price, and Sergei Bobrovsky. That's not mentioning Jonas Korpisalo and Jeremy Swayman playing lights out at their strides. Now, the Leafs' opponents are getting goalied by Stolars. In past years, the Leafs have rarely gone down quietly. They forced Game 7, won road games in overtime, but they've never had their opponents struggle to solve their goalie. Stolars sent what could have been an even series to a 2-0 series lead in Ottawa. This is uncharted territory for the Leafs. They're more experienced this time, but the guy who has no career playoff starts has back-to-back excellent starts this time, and he credits learning behind Bobrovsky for that. I didn't even mention overtime, but Max Domi and Simon Benoit redeemed themselves for the terrible giveaway that led to the Gaudette goal. In fact, Domi's line struggled all night long, controlling a 31.5% share of expected goals in just under 7 minutes of 5-on-5. Domi turned the puck over twice. Nick Roberts had a bad high sticky penalty. Bobby McMahon couldn't find momentum through 2 games. McMahon was on a dry spell on the goal sheet that spanned since the Leafs blowout win over the Flyers. The funny thing was, it was this very line that almost won the game on a 3-on-2 rush, but it was quickly countered by Drake Batherson who leads the way on the other direction. But Batherson had a very quick judgment to think that Cousins would arrive quickly at the deep slot. Benoit intercepts the pass, then leads a 2-on-4 rush with McMahon headed for the bench. Benoit's only trailer option is Domi, and immediately drops the puck for him. Domi dekes out Cousins, then nutmegs Batherson, gets a leaping scream from Benoit. Bardowski! Game over! Sweet redemption for Mad Max and Benoit, and Max's father Ty, a former Leaf by the way, in attendance. This series shifts to Ottawa, and while the Leafs held a 2-0 series lead for the first time since 2002, it's going to get harder now for Toronto. Don't expect the Sens to go down for the fight. Really, NHL? This series was the only one to start on a Tuesday and not on any of the other 3 days? I want to have a war with the NHL schedule makers, because this was not a good start for the start of a series when the other ones started on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But this night was history. Both Tkachuk brothers competed in the Stanley Cup Playoffs for the first time ever, and became the 83rd set of brothers to score goals on the same night of the playoffs. 2 years removed from Marcus and Nick Foligno scoring on April 21st, 2023. Matthew's no stranger to the playoffs. This is 7th postseason between the Panthers and the Flames. Brady is in his first postseason as captain of the Senators. Matthew hasn't played since his groin injury at the Four Nations faceoff, and immediately we were asking how much of an impact would he have come playoff time. The answer? 2 goals and an assist, all on the power play. The assist came on the second of 2 Nate Schmidt goals. It's true that the Panthers suffered injuries and poor performance down the stretch of the regular season, and has led to the Bolts being a slight favorite. But this is far from an easy out, and the Panthers remind us why they are the defending champions, and Tkachuk remind us why he's such an important piece to the Cole. He beat Vasilevsky 5-0 for the low slot, and his second goal was from the right circle to bounce off Victor Hedman's skate. He's still the type of player with a unique blend of speed, physicality, IQ, leadership, clutch scoring, and dominance. And Schmidt, who signed with Florida before the season because he wanted to play for Paul Maurice, has been a perfect fit personality and production-wise. He's getting his confidence early in the series and finding his stride on the bottom pairing. 2 goals, 3 shots, 2 hits and a block. One when cleaning up a loose puck in front of the net after the Big Cat can't control a save off Brad Marchand's shot, and the other on a wrister from the right point off Tkachuk's pass. Neither team could get a distinct shot advantage over one another after Tampa outshot them 10-3 to begin the game. It all started out with Sam Bennett batting a Mackie Samoskevich pass out of the air, and Jake Gensel countering with a power play marker, tucking in a loose puck off Nikita Kucherov's rebound. And once again, momentum is a funny word in hockey, because just when it looked like the Bolts are coming back on the Cats, the Panthers responded swiftly. Sam Reinhart puts the Panthers up for good at the end of the first period, tipping a shot from Dmitry Kulikov past Vasi's glove. The game was 5-1, shy of the halfway part of the second period, right after Florida scored twice in 15 goals after John Cooper had a bad challenge. Barring another improbable comeback attempt like what the Oilers-Kings game had, this game was over. And lo and behold, it was over. There would be no comeback. The Bolts have some questions to answer. Not only did they allow 3 power play goals, but the Panthers were unfazed in doing so. Florida had just 4 shot attempts and 3 shots on goal on the man advantage. That's the type of power play performance that happens once in a blue moon. What's worse is that Anthony Cirelli exited the game to injury and is uncertain for game 2. Zemgus Girgensons and Luke Glendening, two of their best defensive-minded forwards were on the ice for 2 of those power play goals, and Ryan McDonough, usually a reliable shutdown defenseman, was on the ice for all 3. Cirelli's status will have a heavy influence on the PK, but if he can't go, this unit will still have to find a way to stop the Panthers' man advantage, and they need to stop taking unnecessary interference penalties. It's one game, but Florida looked like they were playing a playoff game. They finished their checks, won puck battles, and finished their chances. That led them to the win. If you're a Bolts fan, this score tells a blowout win, but if you're going with the glass half full approach, they did hold the Panthers, one of the best shooting teams, to 35 shot attempts, and the forecheck worked at the time. Tampa had several players making their playoff debuts. Not only rookies Connor Geeky and Gage Gonzalez, and again, Mackie Samoskevich is also making his playoff debut, but also J.J. Moser and Jurgensen's. Florida was the faster team all night long. The third goal was an example as the Panthers generate 2 takeaways. H.O. Luostarinen was flying all over the place with hit after hit. Simply put, the Bolts have to play faster in Game 2. But a bright spot for them was Nick Paul, as he filled the void in Cirelli's spot, and that line dominated play with him on the ice. They did everything but score, and the Bolts will need that effort. And while it's one game, don't believe the Lightning are going to go down quietly. The effort's there, not the execution. It's still a long way to 4 wins in this series. This is just a start. Ironically, just like the Battle of Ontario, the Battle of Florida started with a team winning 6-2. Funny how that worked. So it's going to end with a 3-2 overtime win for the Panthers in Game 2. Once again, really? You can't even complain about the day this series starts because it started on Sunday. But on what war is the start time of 11 Eastern acceptable? Her kids had to go to school on the Eastern Seaboard and the Central Time Zone because it's on a weekday. I'm not even a student, even robbed me of my sleep time too. Initially, I count out the Wild, but this game was the reminder. With Kirill Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson in the lineup, they can catch up with the big boys. I said this in Game 1, I'll say it again. They were one of the best teams in the league during the first half of the regular season, and they showed their form through their first 2 games. They showcased that they can hang with Vegas, and if people didn't believe that, they won a convincing fashion in Game 2. They scored 3 times in the first period, and had one more 4 minutes into the second. Kaprizov, an early Hart Trophy candidate, dished out a perfect pass to Matt Boldy to set up a partial breakaway, and it buries it 5-0 on Aiden Hill. At that point, he had all the goals for Minnesota in the playoffs, but it's the Wild's depth that pulled through. Marcus Foligno pushed it to 2-0 off a touch pass from Ryan Hartman, who was at the near quarter, and scored from the top of the crease. Shea Theodore found on a pass at his own zone after he was beat out by Boldy on the breakaway, and Marcus Johansson took it away to find a speeding Matt Zuccarello, who got around the defense to knock the third goal for the Wild, which bounced under Hill's glove and in. Then it was Kaprizov taking advantage of Theodore mishandling the puck, and he was off to the races on another partial break. Hill stopped the initial shot with his right skate, but it floated behind him. Kirill the Frill tapped it home to make it 4-0. It's the 4th time Kaprizov and Boldy connected on a goal. But if there was anything we learned from the Kings-Oilers game, it's that no lead is safe, not even a 4-goal lead. Minnesota is the only team in the regular season to be undefeated when leading after 2 periods, 29-0-0. Vegas, on the other hand, had the largest goal differential the third period at plus 41. But funnily enough, the Knights' first goal wasn't actually scored in the third period. After some incredible saves by Hill and Philip Gustafson, one where Hill almost didn't intend the goal, Vegas enters on a 3-on-3 rush. And while Nick Waugh was poked up the puck by Zeev William, it lands right onto a trailing Noah Hannafin and fired glove side for the high slot. Vegas within 3. Then early in the third, Brandon Saad cycles the Minnesota zone, hands the puck off to an entering Alex Pietrangelo, who walks in and sets up Tomas Hertl, who shoves away William and taps in the puck to the back of the net. And Vegas is all of a sudden breathing down the Wild's neck. But once again, time started to become the Knights' enemy, and they had to pull Hill. Kaprizov, however, is not interested in chaos. He wants no part of a blown 4-goal lead, and he fires the puck the length of the ice and puts this one to bed. His second goal and third point is the game saver. The Wild even the series headed to St. Paul. There was concern that Vegas would stop toying around this game, but the Wild took control almost immediately from the moment the puck was dropped. Boldy admitted that Kaprizov's pass was the best one he'd ever seen, and this hot start for the Wild shut off anything from the Knights. Those first 25 minutes were a work of art. It gave them breathing room. Many times, Kaprizov was the best player on the Wild. Many times, he has taken over a game and willed them to victory. The playoffs showed that again. When he was on the ice, the Knights still had an advantage in shot attempts at 5-on-5. But at the same time, the Wild had a 13-8 advantage in scoring chances. It's even more impressive when Kaprizov started just a third of his shifts in the offensive zone. He didn't have the best looks, but he had an advantage in scoring chances. The downside? Score effects. It's pretty insightful. The more goals the team is down by, the more likely they are to throw as many pucks as possible with the hopes of scoring. Conversely, when a team is leading, they're more likely to be focused on possessions to kill the clock. It's always good to score more goals, but the hope is that there is a large enough lead to prevent this surge of offense coming from the other side. If the Wild were to give the Knights a run for their money, they need to face more of these types of minutes. Gustafsson and the defense in front of him will be tested more to try to withstand it.